Welcome to the DropDead podcast, where we, and by that I mean I, am going to discuss horror movies. What makes a classic, what makes a total crap show, what makes them fun to watch, what I love and hate about them, and yeah, in this episode, we, and again by that I mean I, am going to discuss Scream, made in 1996 by writer Kevin Williamson and legendary horror director Wes Craven, and inspired by real events. Scream 4 is a four-film franchise that eventually goes downhill, but it has an amazing start off and actually became a very influential series to the horror genre. Please do not mistake this for a summary of the movie. I will only be going over important and key moments from the movie and little tidbits here and there, telling you what I think. Yes, I might talk a lot about what happens in the movie, and it could be um, boiled down to a summary, but it is not a summary. This is me giving my opinion on those scenes. If you do not like my opinion, I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Also, fair warning, there are major spoilers for the movie. Enjoy. So, Scream starts out in one of the most interesting ways that any movie could start out, killing off the actress that originally auditioned for the main character. I thought that was funny. Actress Drew Barrymore stars as Casey Becker, the girl who's most famous for having been a part of the first ever What's Your Favorite Scary Movie phone call. She was also the first ever person killed on screen by Ghostface. Now, she does go through a weird, conversation with the random stranger that called her in the middle of the night, and I actually showed this movie to my girlfriend, and she kept saying, just like everybody else does, why doesn't she just hang up the phone? Everyone says that. First off, relax. It's a movie. And it was also 1996, where people answered phones and doors despite not knowing who was on the other end. Secondly, when she does try and hang up, he threatens to gut her, like a fish. No shot she was going to hang up. He also just said the line, I want to know who I'm looking at. You wouldn't hang up either. And she couldn't text either because it was 1996, 2 years before sending a text message was a thing. Um, anyway, she goes through a little flirty, turned creepy, and then scary, and then he's threatening her life phone call with this random guy. And then she fails to save her boyfriend. And then she sadly gets killed after. Now, I didn't feel bad that she got that her boyfriend got killed because she answered the question wrong of who was the killer in Friday the 13th. Everybody knows that. Looks directly at my girlfriend dramatically. It was Pamela Voorhees, not Jason. Jason showed up in the sequel. Pamela was the killer. She killed a bunch of people because they did let her son die. I stuttered crazily there. They let her son die. And then when she was decapitated at the end, Jason came back in the next movie to get revenge because his mother was killed. Okay, I'm getting off topic. Anyways, I didn't. Her boyfriend gets killed after this, and then she is then being chased by the killer, and then she gets killed in a very horrible and gruesome way, being that her parents were just getting home and she was almost able to be saved. And then she's dragged to the backyard, hung up, and her insides are hanging on the outside. I'm pretty sure she was hung by her insides. Now, again, this isn't a summary of the movie. This is me giving you guys my opinion and what I think of the movie and why I'm giving it the rating that I do. Um, but yeah, I'm only going to be going over certain important scenes, like the fountain scene, where we met our characters. Now, honestly, I knew Stu was the killer. I mean, he literally describes how to gut somebody when someone asks the question, how do you even gut someone? That's like when OJ wrote the book. I didn't do it, but if I did, this is how I would have done it. I knew Stu was one of the killers, but I, didn't know the motive. And honestly, Stu never had a motive, but more on that later. Then we meet Sydney, Stu, Billy. We meet Gail at some point. We meet Tatum, Randy, just our main following of the movie. And eventually, Sydney, the legendary Scream Queen, gets attacked in her own home. She gets attacked while calling out other horror movies, adding a nice little slice of meta-ness to the movie. And she gets away after a very suspenseful chase scene. And then the not so creepy boyfriend of hers crawls through her window as the killer is leaving, and then he drops a phone and a knife out of his pocket. Really? They had me sold that Billy was the killer the first time he ever creeped through her window. In the beginning, he creeps through her window because he wants to see her. Who does that? What do you want to give your girlfriend a heart attack? Nothing says I love you and I want to see you, climbing through her window and scaring the hell out of her. The most he did was instill the fear into her that if she leaves her window open at night, it's easy for someone to crawl through it. But I was sold on that he was the killer, but watching it with my girlfriend, she wasn't really sold. She thought it was creepy and suspicious, but she thought they were trying to make it look like that, which I can see how they were. And they did. But Scream did an amazing job at introducing the whodunit aspect of horror. And then her boyfriend is then put in jail because they're trying to prove that he's the killer. And then she gets a call from the killer while he was in jail, while the boyfriend was in jail. I'm sorry. She gets a call from the killer while her boyfriend's in jail. and everybody's like, "Oh no, who could it be? Billy's in jail. Oh my God, it's the wrong guy." And then I thought like, there's no way no one at all in the movie thought there's no way it's two killers. It's only Billy. It's not Billy. Damn, Billy was in jail and she got a call. Had to be somebody else. That's why, in my opinion, Scream works then, but it would not work now. I think yes, it could work with somebody going on a killing spree, of course, but I don't think it would work in the same way of nobody would think more about it. Like, oh, Billy didn't make the call because he's in jail, but what if he has a partner? Obviously, one person isn't going to go and try to kill a bunch of people on his own. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Um, then while the movie's going on, we get a bunch of more kills. We see the killer goes after the Fonz himself. Arthur Fonzarelli, playing Principal Himbry, gets murdered in his own office. Now, in this scene, they make a little callback to Wes Craven's directing of Nightmare on Elm Street because they have a janitor wearing a sweater and the hat. And his name's Fred, obviously like Freddy Krueger, and I thought that was really cool. I like when they put little things like that, little Easter eggs. But it's a very rough scene to watch because it's the Fonz. You know, it's a lot of people's heroes. Like Fonzie was the guy. You know, he banged on the jukebox and it started, kicked people's butts. Like he was really cool. I had a leather jacket actually because I thought Fonzie was really cool. I have the whole thing of Happy Days on disc. It's great, but it was a tough scene to watch. And I swear to God, I could see his last "a" with the thumbs up leaving his eyes as he was killed. It was terrible. We see a potential love interest between the characters Gail Weathers, the reporter, and Deputy Dewey, the cop. Now they're played by Courtney Cox and David Arquette, which is really cool in my opinion. They met on this movie and they eventually get married in real life, and I think that's amazing. Unfortunately, they get divorced, but I still think it's cool. Like they met and they fell in love. But then we also see Gail Weathers, the reporter, being a horrible human being to her cameraman Kenny. Now Kenny didn't do anything wrong, but throughout the movie, she's like, he's not moving fast enough, I guess, and she literally says the line, "Move your fat tub of lard ass now." Like you could have said that differently. That was rude. The guy's trying to help you, but at one point when the reporters are like going after Sydney, like Sid, tell us this. Gail Weathers was like cornering her about her mother's death and how she blamed the wrong guy for her mother's death and like a whole really cool plot to the movie. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole movie. I'm here to talk about my opinion of the movie and why I think the way I do. But this scene was really cool. Sydney says, "Oh, something about her book, like, oh, I hope to read your book one day." And Gail goes, "I'll send you a copy." And then, bam, Sydney turns and punches her in the face. And I was like, she deserved that. You're cornering a girl whose mother was killed, and now her boyfriend tried to kill her after two of her classmates were killed. Like, back off. Like, reporters suck. Not all, sorry. The reporters in the movie suck, but I've seen like things like that really happen, and that's just not cool, man. So, but I think that it was very realistic that the way reporters are very cutthroat in their industry. But yeah, we get a whole bunch of other kills, and then we make it finally to our final scene, which takes place at Stu Matcher's house, or Macker, however you want to say his name. He throws a party, despite there being a total citywide lockdown because there is a serial killer. So Stu, who again I knew he was the killer, is like, I know what I need to do. Throw a huge party and invite so many people. And it works. And Tatum, who is Dewey's sister, Stu's girlfriend, and Sydney's best friend, she decides to go off on her own and get a beer for Stu. Stu's like, "Go get me a beer," and she goes into the garage to get it. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was at a party and I knew there was a serial killer on the loose, I wouldn't even pee by myself, let alone go into a huge garage where someone can close the door on me and kill me. No shot. So like when she did it, I was like, wow, she really is stupid. And then the killer shows up and tries to kill her. And now I like the way she played it off at first, being like, "Oh, I'm not scared," because like a bunch of people are making jokes at her, like, "Oh, you're trying to joke that you're killing me." She even calls it. She goes, "Randy," and obviously it wasn't Randy. Now, I personally thought that she instantly should have started like attacking him, despite it being a prank or not, because it's not a prank you pull. It's a killer on the loose. Again, off topic, but I really like that they made it very meta. That she's like, "Oh, this is a movie. Am I going to be the damsel in distress and you're going to be the killer who's trying to kill me?" And then she finds out it's real because he cuts her arm. And she does put up a pretty good fight. She throws beer bottles at him, knocks him in the face and the nuts. And like she She's doing a pretty good job. And then, and again, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Her like thought process for getting away is, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna crawl through the doggy door, and it doesn't work. Obviously, it's a doggy door, but she tried and she got like her arm. She got like basically like her up to her like stomach in, I guess, like she was in, and one arm through. And then the killer, instead of going over and stabbing her, he instantly knew. He was like, "Oh my god, is she serious? Like she's stupid." And then he turns on the garage door, and she goes up and up and up and up, and then she dies. And that's one of the most memorable kills, in my opinion, throughout any of the Scream movies, because that's hilarious. Um, I've been told it was stupid and that it was bad writing, but I like it. I think it was funny. It's very creative. There's not really many kills like that, but especially not in Scream when the guy really just uses a knife. Like, I thought it was creative. And then eventually, everybody leaves and we're left with our final characters of Stu, Randy, Tatum. Oh no, sorry, not Tatum. Tatum's dead. Stu, Randy, Sydney, Gail, Deputy Dewey, and Billy shows up. Now Billy shows up at the end of the party, and Stu is like, "Hey man, well, you guys can go talk in my parents' room because they're not home." So they go upstairs, and I'll save you guys the details. They just do it. Like, she talks, and then she realizes that, like, oh, maybe I should do it with you, and then she does it with him, and they do it, and they kind of show it a little bit, but not too much because you know, Wes Craven's not really the most like, let's see a bunch of teenagers having sex right now. And I like that. I was very like appreciated that he was. It felt more real, that like she did it because it's one of those like, oh, like I'm in the moment, I'm in control, and I have to face my fears of what's holding me back from being myself. And I was like, that's really I like that. I think it's really cool. I think it's unrealistic, but I think it's cool. Like she did that. And then afterwards, she gets suspicious. She's like, wait, you who did you call when you were in jail? And he's like, my dad. And she goes, no, the the sheriff called your dad. And then he's like, you don't think it was me, do you? She goes, no, I'm just saying it would have been smart of you if you used your one phone call while you were in jail, which he didn't do. But that's why Sydney becomes one of my favorite Scream Queens of all of them, because she's like, oh, he could have done that. She thought a little bit late, but she started thinking smarter, that, oh, he could have done that. I wanted her to think, who else did you call? Did you call someone to make the call? But she doesn't say that. But that's why, because she becomes one of my favorites, because she's smart. Eventually, the killer comes in and, you can't see me, but finger quotes, kills Billy. Billy gets stabbed, finger quotes, stabbed, and then the killer chases her. And she runs outside, and she runs into... Randy's drunk on the couch, by the way, and watching a movie. She runs outside, and she goes over to the van, which has the guy, Kenny, the guy who's really, really, really treated horribly in this movie. She runs into Kenny, and he brings her inside, and then he has camera footage of what's going on inside the house, but it's 30 seconds behind. So he opens the door, gets his throat slit. And I was like, damn, he did it protecting Sydney, though, like, kind of, I guess. Like, what a hero. And then Sydney eventually, like, she finds Dewey, and Dewey is stabbed in the back, and he drops, and his gun is there, so she picks it up, and then right at that moment, a very great scene that I love, Stu and Randy start running towards her, because, like, they saw, like, the dead bodies and stuff, and they know the killer's there, and they're like, Stu's like, oh, it's him, Sid, shoot it, give me the gun, and Randy's like, no, it's not me, it's Stu, Sid, please, you gotta believe me, and amazingly, she goes, fuck you both, and she slams the door on them. I was like, that's so badass. Like, she's like, I'm protecting myself. And I would have done the same thing, I think. But then Billy comes outside the room and, like, throws himself down the stairs to add drama to the fact that he's stabbed and injured. Like, you know how dangerous that was? He could have died. He's the killer. Eventually, Randy comes inside. Sydney gave Billy the gun, and he shot Randy. And they revealed Billy's the killer. And everybody was like, whoa, no way, it's crazy. This dude's psycho. Knew he was the killer. But he, like, throws himself down the stairs. Like, he could have, like, hit his head and died. Whatever. But we find out the motive that Billy has. And you know what? It's a motive that makes sense to me. That So Billy reveals that Sydney's mom was sleeping with his dad, and because of this, it broke up Billy's family, and his mom abandoned him. And it's Sydney's fault. It's Sydney's mom's fault that all this happened. So he reveals that he was the one who killed Sydney's mom, and then he reveals that he is the one who's gonna kill Sydney as well. They don't really explain why he wants to kill Sydney, except for the fact that like sins of the mother, I guess. But she outsmarts them both because they're morons. They spend like 10 minutes of a scene giving their motives and then stabbing each other repeatedly. And the best part, Stu does not have a motive. He's literally just a ride or die. Stu's family is not involved. Stu is just the best friend ever. Like he's just a ride or die. That's all he was. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna do? I got you, bro." Like no way they weren't lovers. They were too close, too like on each other, and it was just a whole thing. But they stabbed each other too much. Billy stabbed Stu way too much, and eventually Sydney gets away. And when she does, they can't find her, and they look for her. And then what she had done is she put on the costume, and then she goes after, I believe it was Billy first. She stabs him with an umbrella, which was weird because I don't think you can do that. The umbrella didn't look sharp. It looked like it was one of like the cylinder edges, but I just whatever did. I was like, I probably didn't see it right. And then she kills him. Or she doesn't kill him. She stabs him, and then he drops to the floor. And then Stu, very badass, attacks her. But Sydney, being more badass than Stu, gets the upper hand, throws him on the floor, and drops a TV on his face. Now that was a great kill. I liked it. But I've seen kills like that before in other movies. So it wasn't like Freddy like grabbing her face and saying, "Welcome to prime time, bitch," and slamming it through and killing her. It was more just like dropping a TV on somebody. So it wasn't really like a memorable kill for me, but it was okay. She then gets the upper hand on Billy, or no, she doesn't. She gets beat up by Billy, and then Gail comes in, and then they get the upper hand on Billy because Gail shoots him. And Randy's like, "Oh, the killer usually comes back for one final kill," and then the killer comes back for one final like scare, possible try and kill, and then he gets shot in the face by Sydney, and that's it. Now the way I summed up the movie, I hope you guys don't take it as in like, oh, it's a bad movie. Why would we watch it? It's a really great movie. My rating for it is 8.5. I gave it an 8.5 because it's directed really well. Uh, Wes Craven is a absolute legend, and I liked what he did was the guy who played the killer, the guy who did the voice for him, he was only he was on set with them whenever he was doing his like killer voice, but they never saw him and they never interacted with him to make it more scary for them. And Drew Barrymore, I believe in an interview, talked about how that was like something so terrifying for her, and that it made it all more like suspenseful and like, oh my god, like it's hard to act because it feels so real. And I like that. I like that a lot. I personally want to be an actor, and like I want to go through those experiences like that. And I think that's really cool that Wes Craven did that. God rest his soul. Rest in peace, you beautiful legend. Um, but I like the movie. It was really good. My rating is 8.5, and I think it adds a lot to the horror genre that wasn't there before. It plays well on the who done it. It plays well on the everybody's a suspect, like Randy yells. It's a really good movie, and I recommend you watch it. Again, this isn't my summary. I didn't go through all of the bits of the movie. I went through the bits that influenced my opinion. But 8.5 is my rating for it. If you guys have a different rating for it, please let me know. Next time, I'll be talking about Scream 2, because I'm going to go through the whole series. Eventually, because Sydney goes through this 4 times in total. The first one, like I described, and then 3 more times after. And don't get me wrong, it's good. It really is good. The whole story, everything behind it. But it goes downhill at 3. And then 4, again, in my opinion, it's the 4th time. They didn't do anything new. There's a new plot, kind of. But, I don't know. 4 wasn't for me. 3 wasn't for me. But 3 has okay moments, but when I talk about 3, I'm going to be a lot angrier because it's so stupid. But, yeah, I'm going to be talking about Scream 2 next. Scream 2 is my favorite movie. It is my all-time favorite horror movie and favorite movie. I don't know, it's just, I can't really describe why yet because I'd rather describe it in the next episode, but it was really, really good. And it stars one of my all-time favorite actors, stunt guy number 2. He kills it. But other people, too, are great in the movie, but it is a great movie and it's a classic, and rewatching it becomes more fun every time because you get to laugh at dumb decisions that people make, and you get to talk about how you would survive and because they did this and you would do this better. But yeah, so thank you all for listening, and please let me know if you agree or disagree with my rating of 8.5 for this movie, and let me know any other movies I should talk about. I've seen 311 horror movies, and I do not plan on stopping. Thank you, and let me know what I did wrong in this podcast, because it's my first ever one. Let me know what you liked that I did, what I didn't like. Just any kind of feedback would be great. But thank you so much for listening, and stay safe, everyone.